Welcome again to the S.E.M podcast. I am your sole host today, Zach Hewlett. Jack Bryce isn't with us, but that's okay. We miss you, Jack. And we're really excited because we have an opportunity to talk again with Alberto Marcone. And Alberto, as you may remember, was part of our conversation with Chris Harlow. And as we love Chris, he shared a lot about his mission, but we didn't get to talk with Alberto about his. So this is our conversation, and it does bounce back and forth from that original conversation. So if you see us change clothes in our video, then you'll understand why. So Alberto, where are you calling from tonight?
I'm in Pescara. This is just the area where I grew up in, pretty much, like 20 miles south, but it's like 200 miles from Rome on the east side of Italy, let's say.
200 miles from Rome, east of
Yeah.
Italy. Okay, cool. Well, good. Well, we're so excited to have you both on here. All right, Alberto, tell us your story pre-mission and getting your call. Love to hear that.
Yeah. Well, let's start from the very beginning. So I didn't really make up my mind about serving a mission throughout my teenage years, especially because when I was, I think, around 16, I pretty much went less active, or like my parents got married, and I'm like second generation. Would you say first generation or second generation members? So like my parents were converts. So like, um, um, so I wasn't like really sure whether to serve a mission or not. But I think that when I went less active, like my mind was very clear about that. I didn't want anything to do with the church and everything. But my parents still kept me going to church. After when I turned 19, I went to uni. I still like came back home every weekend, but let's say that I was totally out of like any idea like of serving a mission. So I pretty much got in the wrong crowd. I was a dropout at uni, so I was studying, but I was like considered that timeline wise, I left for my mission when I was 24, so it was like super late, even for like that time. In fact, like I was 19, I would see like missionaries coming to my home that were like my same age. I was like, okay, that's weird, because you always look up at missionaries when you are younger, saying, oh, they are like big, they are older than me. And then at one point there was like someone showing my age, and I was like, okay, that is not possible. And then like they were getting younger than me, and I was like, okay, this is like going fast. And well, then let's cut it. But at one point, there was some like some stuff happened in my life. Like my parents were splitting up, and I kind of like got like a moment where I was thinking about a lot of stuff. So I wasn't feeling like I like to party or do whatever things with my friends, but then at one point that kind of fun wasn't like enough for me anymore. And I was starting to get closer to my church friends, and so I went to a couple like YSA big activities here in Italy. You have either like local activities or like you have semi-annual activities in like one part of Italy where there will be like 400 people joining, like 400 YSA joining all together in one place. So like that's like the coolest thing that you can find around here. So like you meet people from Sicily, from Milan, like from all over the country, and that's a way to get to know people. And because we live in like small worlds, and they're all far from each other, so these are like big gathering that can help people getting married. And this
well said.
Yeah, well, I eventually got married to my wife. She lives like 600 miles from here, so like that.
Wow.
That's, well, we'll get to that later. But
Sure.
so, and there were like people like were leaving for missions, and everyone was like kind of like putting a mark on my heart. Let's say I'm not sure how to say it, but like everyone who I was speaking to, they were living for a mission. I was just like getting like a big impression that they were doing something inside me. And so like after this, there was at one point in my ward, we were a big group, I always say, and they like. I remember one morning I was just on my computer just doing stuff. I think it was around January or February, and a girl that was serving during a mission, started writing an email, and we were starting like writing back and forth. And she asked me, "So when are you leaving for a mission?" And like nobody had asked me that. Like I was barely like attending church, and she just went straight to the point. And I was like, okay, that is weird. Like I had never thought about that. Like I saw people leaving, but I wasn't sure about what I would have done. And so I went back to church, attending institute. I started like putting all my life back together where it should have been. And um, plus, like the thing that really helped me is that in my ward there was quite a big group that was living all together, like with a month or 3 weeks, 4 weeks of like delay between one from another. And so like everyone was like preparing the papers, and my sister actually was preparing her papers, and she's like 3 years younger than me. And I was like, again, I was 24, 20. I was 24 and almost 24. And I say, well, I went to my bishop, and I asked him, well, I want to leave for a mission. And he looked at me, and like it was like out of the blue. And he looked at me and said, look what I wrote on my on this piece of paper. And there was my name, and under that was like mission. He was like, he wanted to tell me about going on a mission just like the same day. And we were like, okay, that is happening. And
That's cool.
we sent the papers, and we got them back on the same day, me and my sister. Like we didn't really even have time to do all like. In the meantime, while waiting, like everyone's just like saying, "Oh, you're going to Italy. You are staying in Italy." And like for maybe an American staying in America, the same thing is for an Italian. Like I didn't want to stay in Italy, and so my friend was always telling me, like my best friend was telling me, "Okay, you either stay in Italy or you're going to Albania." And I don't have anything against Albania, but unfortunately we have some immigrants here that cross like the Mediterranean, the Adriatic Sea, and come to Italy. And so like it was like a way of making fun of me. Actually, I love that place now. I've never been there, but I would have loved to serve there anyway. And so like, I was very anxious about where I was going, because I had a lot of non-members friends, and I was terrified of like telling them, well, I'm going to serve a mission for my church. And where are you going? Well, just 3 hours south. Like I don't know. It was like my heart wasn't in the right place at the time. So we got the papers the same day, and my grandma, like my parents were away, and my grandma was at home. Like I said, I don't care. I'm gonna open it. I want to read where I'm going, because I've been dreading this moment for like 6 weeks. Like I think we got them like after 6 weeks or something. And I just opened it, and when I read Scotland, I was like, yeah! I like shouted so loud that the neighbors were worried about. Like there was an old lady just next door neighbor, and she was like sick, and they thought that she was screaming, and so they went up to her. And well, my sister was called to the Leeds mission,
Oh wow.
and so where Chris is from. And it was crazy. I was the happiest in that day. I really like Scotland. For me, like when I read Scotland, it was just like, that is the bomb. Like I love that place. And then like after a month I left. And the cool thing was that we were saying goodbye to everyone, but I was always with my sister. So it was cool that we got to like we left on a plane, but I still had family with me. And so we went to the MTC together in Preston. So whenever I wanted to just turn to family, or to like look for some familiar face, someone like that you always grew up with, I had my sister there. And actually we were the only one that could hug on their MTC. So I actually, we were asked not to hug because it didn't look good, because people didn't know they were like relatives. And so the hardest part for me was when I left the MTC, because at that point I felt, okay, the last piece of like security is gone. Like now you are really by yourself. But that was even like the coolest thing. I was reading on my journal just yesterday, and I was reading like when we left for Scotland, it was like a big parade. Like all the missionaries were just on the corridor outside the MTC door, and there was like, I think, what hymn? What's the hymn about Joseph Smith turned to the Scottish?
Praise to the man.
Praise to the man.
It was like Praise to the Man blasting on the speakers, and everyone was singing, and we were just in the middle, like marching. I felt like the best. Like that was like one of the best, the key moments for like, I felt like, I don't know, a warrior. I don't know. And then we jumped on the bus, and then we jumped on the train, and we got to the mission home. Yeah, that was.
You started your mission at what point in 2006?
September.
Okay.
September 27th. So I think I got in Scotland, in Edinburgh, in like 12th of October.
Okay. Like yeah. Awesome. I love it. All right. Talk to us about life for you since the mission.
Well, all right. Before I left for my mission, I've always been like a software developer. Okay, I went to I did like computer science in a uni, and so like I was always like in the field of like programming. And before I left for my mission, I talked with my one of my high school friends, saying, "Hey." It's like a very good friends. I'm still friends with him today. And I told him, when I'm coming back, I want to open like a little startup with you, and we're going to do like stuff together. And he's like, yeah, don't worry. So like 1 week before, 10 days before I came back from my mission, he wrote me saying, hey, how are you? Like, I know that I promised you that we would have opened like a company together, but unfortunately, like I'm working for someone else. And actually, this guy wants to meet you. He's very happy about the stuff that I told him about you, and so like he wants to meet you. So like before I came back, I had already like an interview lined up for me. And the day I came back, when you serve in your mission, you think, oh yeah, I'm gonna like chill on the couch. I'm gonna catch up on all the movies that I missed these past 2 years. But for me, it was just like getting a SIM card, getting new shoes, getting like clothes, because like most of the stuff like I thrown it away before coming from Scotland. So like I gathered my life up, all of the stuff that I needed to like work to survive, like a car and stuff like that. I was like begging from one side and another. And I went to do the interview. And actually, like my boss, like to this day, he still calls me Albert, because when I came back, like I had an accent, I had an English accent in my Italian. So like I was like really English. I would just, and so he still calls me Albert. He cuts the O because I was very posh for him. But I would say sentences that didn't make sense. But anyway, and he was very happy that I didn't work for the previous 2 years, because there were like this guy, like he didn't pay taxes to hire me. So he was like, yeah, whatever, you're on board. And so I got to this company. It was just like 5 of us or something like that. But it was like the best for me, because I wanted to work and it was my field. They were happy that I wasn't like I didn't like have years of experiences that I didn't even remember how to use a keyboard after like 2 years. And so like I had time, like they gave me like a month, like, yeah, whatever, you just do whatever you want. And when you get to the point where you can work, just let us know. And well, after that, I kind of like kept growing and growing. And after like this month, I do like 14 years in that company. And like during that time, like the company just blew up. Like we opened several other like sub companies, and I'm like I develop mobile apps right now. So I've been making like tons of apps in the past 10 years. Like I started in like 2010 when like the first iPad came out, and I'm following like a team of developers right now as well, but I don't like managing people at all. Like I just like to create stuff and to make life easier for people. So like every time there's a project, I try to put my signature of like doing stuff in an easy way where people say like the happiest that I am when like one of our clients would say, this is so easy to use, or like this is so clear and like it's very simple, like you understand what you have to do, it's cool to see, like, and so like that is my job, my dream job. I'm doing my dream job. I really love.
That's amazing. Is it primarily apps in like the Italian language, or do you develop for like worldwide stuff?
It's local. No. We don't do like we either develop like our own products, or we develop products for like hospitals or banks or stuff like that.
Oh, wow.
You won't find stuff in the app store. We like our market is not like worldwide, unfortunately. We have like very famous like products for the Italian market that is not like worldwide. And so like,
all right, I was just curious if you were like one of the developers on like Angry Birds or some
crazy
app.
I do a lot of boring stuff. But.
Oh yeah, right. I don't believe that. That's amazing. Good for you.
There are no games, but I like to create interfaces. So like I like to create like buttons and stuff that appear, disappears, and stuff that can be read by any age and stuff like that.
That's so cool.
Work-wise, I was set, but I was missing something that was like a companion. And like I thought when I was coming back from a mission, like you are hot stuff, like everybody, like all the girls will just line up, like you served in a foreign country, you speak English, like you return mission, like all like you have everything that you have to have to get married. And so like I was literally planning like, okay, I'm planning of like getting married maybe in 1 year, 2 years stop, but something wasn't working. So like I came back and I was 26 years old. So like I was on the verge of like not even be a YCA anymore. So like time was running and I was like kind of like going to like the big YSA activities that we were talking before. But you know, the biggest, the hardest to even like get in touch with girls. Like I wasn't like social wise, I wasn't like a big, you know, and go up to girls, say, hey, how are you? Like, maybe for you it's easier, but for us Italian, I don't know. Well, no, I'm just shy with girls especially. But
I'm shy too. Come on.
Yeah. And after, well, years passed. I turned 30 and I turned 31, 32, 33, and like I kept going to activities. Like I went even if I was over the age, because we don't have like the mid YSA here. Like they let you go, but you are aware that all the kids are like even 8 years old. So there were people like 16 years younger than me. So I wasn't having much fun as I did before. But one summer, a stake planned like a multi-stake activity, like a very small thing, like couple of stakes. Like it was like word of mouth, like, hey, I'm going there, do you want to come? And so like it was maybe 30 of us and I went. It was just at the beach, and it was like on the 15th of August. We all went there for like a weekend or something. It's a bank holiday on the 15th of August, so like everybody like meets together. And I went there and I was looking around, like honestly, like there weren't many girls, and the few girls that were there didn't really, I don't know. There were a couple that were coming up to me, but I wasn't really interested in. Everybody went home, but me and a few others stayed for like the rest of the week. And there was one girl that was there, and at one point we were the only one wanting to go to places and visit, and so it was always me and her. And people started saying, "Are you together?" Like I was like, no, we're not together. Like she just split up with her boyfriend. I'm like an eternal single. So there's no way they were together. Well, we kissed on the way back on the bus. So like it was just, and yeah. And we dated. Like she, like a month after we were together, she went to London for like a year. So like we did I did long distance at 34. Okay, at 33 wasn't easy at all. And she decided to move things, and she came back to Italy, and she moved to my city. and we dated for another few months, and then we decided to get married. We have a 2.5 years old daughter, and we have another daughter on the way, and she's giving birth next month. So
Oh, that's so exciting!
there'll be
Congratulations.
4 of us, 2 daughters, 3 girls in the family, and
You're a girl dad.
yeah,
That's amazing. I love it. Alberto, take us back through your mission. Talk about your companions and those things. Any other memories you have?
Yeah. Well,
at that point, I don't know how much English you knew, right? This is all new to you.
So like for me, it was just like, it was brutal for me. I mean, I thought that I spoke English because I was in computer science. So, like I had a lot of like terms and vocabulary so I felt like comfortable in speaking English like back home. But when I got to the MTC, it was just like a shock. Like everyone was speaking English, but nobody was speaking the English that I knew. So like it was all like British, all like variants of like accents and ways of speaking. So like I was lost. I was totally lost. Like I didn't understand. Plus, like I wasn't confident anymore. So even if I understood something, I double guessed myself. And so like I was just like I was just second guessing myself. I was like, did I get it right? Did I get it wrong? So sometimes I thought that I understood what people meant, and then I didn't. And so like I was just there trying to figure out what was going on. So like in the MTC, I think I missed probably 70% of what happened. Really, like I was just there smiling, nodding, and I was like, okay, I hope that I will get something of what I'm learning. I mean, like I was really happy of like learning how to teach the message, the restoration, and everything. But at the same time, I was trying to like not to be too awkward, because many times missionaries or teachers were like having fun, and was like, okay, what happened? And there are a few stories about like Elder Smith, one of my last companions that I'll probably talk after. He always makes fun of me to this day, because one time it was kind of like getting cold in the room, because there was the fan that was on, and I didn't know like the word for fan, and I tried to put the words together, and I said, can you like can you stop the wind machine? And so like for me was the wind machine, because I didn't know how to word it. And so like
That's great.
Yeah, that story and many more. I'm pretty sure there are more stories about like how I didn't really speak English when I was there. So but I had really fun, a lot of fun. And
I love that. We talked a lot when we were with Chris on his episode about some of our experiences. Is there any other memories that you have from your time in Aberdeen that you wanted to go over again?
Well, I had a lot of fun with you guys, and I remember it was Christmas time, and probably, well, I got there in September, but by the end of like the move, it was Christmas, and there were a lot of American families there, and I remember like having a lot of fun with you, and what can I say? Even there, I still didn't grasp a lot. I remember one night, like I was very frustrated, so we went back to the flat, and I was just like pointing at things. Like you had to tell me like the words, because I couldn't even like move around the place, like knowing all of the terms. So like I pointed the couch, and you would say couch, and like I pointed to the glass and stuff like that. It was that bad. Like, but yeah. I'm really glad that we served together, because I really had time to like learn. So like I'm so sorry that I missed so much of my mission because of like the language barrier, and it's something that I see today, even like with the missionaries that come to Italy, because I saw like greenies in Scotland. They were American, so they spoke English. So like from the first day, they were fun. They were like having fun with members and everything. But here, greenies are kind of like awkward, and I see myself when I got there, and so I'm so sorry that I couldn't just like start from where I wanted to start. But it was fun in Aberdeen, and there were a few members. Well, I don't remember much beside like the stories that we talked before about, like being with Chris and with you guys. And even Peacock. It was just like so much fun. And I actually met. I came to the States like 10 years ago or so, and we spent some time together. It was very cool to catch up. And
Oh, that's cool. Honestly, I was just impressed with you in every facet of, because yes, you didn't have the language skill yet, but you tried so hard. And I remember there were instances where you would get frustrated and you would just kind of throw your hands in the air and say, I don't know. And I'd have to put my arm around you and say, it's okay. It's okay. You're new. This is not expected of you to be just like diving right into it. Like, I can't even imagine what an experience would look like for me, because I don't know that I would ever be able to grasp a language well enough to speak it and understand it, because that takes time and immersion. And, you're only there for a few months while I was there, but you clearly figured it out now.
Thank you. Yeah.
You did a great job, and I was very impressed with
a lot of people kept telling me like, oh, you speak better English than I speak Italian. I was like, yeah, that doesn't help. I mean, like, you don't speak Italian, so like it's not like I feel better. It's still like I don't feel cool about it. But I remember a lot of like, I think I was on exchange with Elder Peacock, and he kind of like guided me like a big brother would do. And because I remember when I got there, Elder Peacock said, oh yeah, Hewlett, something about Hewlett. And I know I asked Elder Peacock, what's a Hewlett? Because I for me everything was just like foreign, like your names. It was challenging, but the thing that I really was happy about serving with Chris was that I understood him. So like I was just like his accent was very easy for me to pick up, and so after a few days, it was just like being with someone that I knew, and I could understand him.
Yeah,
I remember like on the train from Edinburgh to Aberdeen, it was just like this beautiful scenery, and it was just like magic for me. And then we got to the train station, and you and Peacock were there, and it was cool. It was so cool, man. We all hugged, and I felt very, very, very lost. Like I don't know. I was so happy that you were there for me, because you were all like old school. Like everyone was just like, Peacock was just like on another chart. It was just like so funny, and you were like, oh, I just wanted to hug you. I just needed like that kind of like presence. And I remember getting up, going to the flat, and it was just like so dirty. I remember like filthy. It was I was allergic to like dust, and my eyes were just like swollen. And I remember like walking up the stairs and going down the stairs, and but like I didn't like the flat, but I was just like, this is the real deal. Like I'm like in a missionary flat. It's supposed to be like that. And I was very excited. Like I was actually very excited to be there. And then we moved like 1 week after, and we went like to a normal flat. Just like, okay, whatever. The experience is just over.
That was a good reason why.
The first flat was just like they had like single glass windows, so it was just like I could feel the wind. Like I would just get close to the window, and I would just feel the like all there.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, so yeah, we got Alberto in Aberdeen and Chris. I mean, we had so much fun. You guys together for 3 months?
Yeah, we were.
Because that was my last three months of my mission.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was. I went home after that.
Okay. In fact, like I was so happy when we went around to the reeds, like so I could understand them, and they were so happy. And
yeah.
It was fun.
This is one of my favorite pictures of us of all time.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah.
When we went down there for Christmas.
Yeah. I felt out of place, like totally. That was like such a well. I had to ask you, Zach, but do you still remember all the words of like Sandalot, the movie?
The Sandlot?
Yeah, because I remember hating you because we were like watching the movies, like, and so like they put Sandalo, and I was like, yeah, I haven't watched that movie, and you were like talking over like every single word, and I was like, okay, you know the words, but I'm not getting this movie. I need to like listen to the words.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
As I reflected on, I grew up. My grandmother's house was a block away, and so I had to tell everybody, but
okay,
it was stupid.
okay. Well, that's a fun memory anyway.
We have to before we go anywhere else.
Mhm.
We have to talk about the Disney movie night.
Yes. Yeah.
When Chris Harlow
I was Eric.
dressed up as Prince Charming, Prince Eric, right?
Yeah.
With Quinn Cofer dressed as Ariel in the boat.
Oh man, that was fun.
I don't even know where that jacket came from.
We
It definitely wasn't from my
charity shop.
wardrobe. Did we charity shop it?
Yeah,
Was it?
like someone got it. Like, yeah, I remember I had to pay like £20. I was like, I don't have money. Like, and like you gave us guys all the jackets. I think we got a charity shop or something like that.
It was like a straight jacket with buttons on.
Yeah.
Oh,
It was cool though. I think it was like tweed or something like that.
I probably ended up being Eric because I was the only one small enough to squeeze into that thing.
Right. Absolutely.
Um,
The best part of that whole video is the fact that Elder Price is like your gondolier. Like, I watched it recently and I've never laughed so hard in my life because I was just like, the concept of it all was so cool at the time, but it was an absolute, yes, he tied one around his neck and oh my gosh. and then Elder Marcone and the rest of the missionaries with their seaweed dance.
Yeah.
It was so good. And then obviously Peacock and his epic solo of yodeling. Yeah, it was so good. Again, one of the most unique activities that Award had done in my entire mission because it brought the whole. I think there was actually people from the whole stake that came and participated in those too.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah, it was the best.
That whole experience and the time that we were there in Aberdeen was just so much fun. Like that's how I reflect on it. It was an opportunity for all of us to just really, we connected so well with the ward, and it put us in a position where we got to do more things with the ward because we had shown our true selves, beyond being what the expectation was as missionaries, you know what I mean? And so all that stuff, it was just, it was a lot of fun, a lot of enjoyment. It was the holidays. And so I swear we ate way too much food. we had way too many fun activities. We just, we enjoyed it. And that's what it was all about, which was great.
I'm trying to think which holiday we didn't we do a double DA?
I did.
I can't remember if it was Thanksgiving or.
I mean, we did double DAs all the time. Like, how often we picked you guys up and went out to the Payne's house.
Yeah.
Well,
the problem for me was like the after church. I had to lunch. Like for us in Italy, like you have to like I had lunch after church. But you always said, "No, we're going for dinner like 5:00." And I was like, 5:00 is just like so far away in the future. So maybe like I stuffed myself just to like fill myself up, and then like I was so full. Then we got to the dinner appointment, and I was like, oh, I'm just dying. I'm too full. I'm like, yeah.
No, I felt the same way. I understand exactly what you thought, Alberto.
Well, consider that I remember half of the stuff because I was still trying to figure out like my surroundings. So like I have less memories than you. Like
you were a stalwart though, Alberto. Oh my gosh.
You
were great.
Alberto messaged me earlier with a really funny memory.
Oh yeah.
Of of one time when we went to go to a member's house for an appointment. What was the surname? Was it Robertson?
Yeah, the Robertsons. Yeah,
Oh yeah, I remember
went
Simon.
went to
Yeah.
the Robertsons. I can't even remember how we went in.
Well, thing was like we were invited for DA, and we got there, and we found like on the just on the door, stuck on the door, like a piece of paper saying I had to go out. The food is on the counter. You can find milk in the fridge. And we got there, and like the door was open. Sister Robertson was just leaving, and she just waved at us, and we were like stuck like there. We looked at each other, and it's like, this is not happening. Like, well, I'm not sure why we decided to go in, and so we made ourselves like home. So like we opened everything. We started eating. I even wrote down on my journal like it was just some very crappy macaroni cheese, and I just like
Spoken like a true Italian, right there.
yeah. I didn't even I didn't even like the food. I was just like, what are we doing here?
Oh
And,
man.
and at one point, like, we called you guys, like, we called you as own leaders and say, what should we do now? And you said, well, finish up your plate and just leave. Like, it's too weird. And Chris was saying, like, okay, but like, the doors are open. And like, he didn't know, like, if we had to close them. And so, like, just in that minute, they was having this thought, like, the back door, we hear the back door opening, and Chris started panicking, and like he just like started like yelling, like, yeah. And it was Simon. It was Simon.
Maybe I thought it was the zone leaders again. Oh,
Yeah, that's
dear
it.
me. Speaking of scriptures, though, one of the memories from Aberdeen was one of Alberto's side businesses he had going on.
Yeah, that was my side business. Like, you had your side business, I had mine. Like, wow, you
So,
still have it.
I guess for those who are listening, because this isn't very good for podcast, Alberto had an amazing skill of covering scriptures in tartan. So, which member was it that had the kilt shop?
Burger King.
Yeah, Brother King, you're right. That's where
Wow.
I got my kilt.
Yeah.
And we used
Yeah.
to we used to stop by his his shop because it wasn't too far from the flat on Charlotte Street.
Yeah, exactly.
And we'd go over there and get like scraps of tartan.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then
all the offcuts.
I still have like a full box of like scraps of tartan from him.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Was it cereal boxes you used? It's
Yeah,
like a
yeah,
cardboard.
always. Yeah, I use like cereal boxes just to like do
Well,
the hard.
that's when we made these. Like this is my Preach My Gospel, that my cover
yeah.
that I made out of my
Yeah.
box.
But yeah, all good things do come to an end, don't they?
Yeah.
And so both me and you, Hugh.
I remember receiving that call, and I was like not happy at all. Like, I remember meeting you guys, then some leaders, like that morning moves, and I was crying. Like, I didn't want to leave, and Elder Peacock came up to me and he had me and said, you're a man now. I was like, I don't care, I want to stay here. And then like I was going to Stornoway, and so like it was just like you're going in the middle of nowhere, like 12 hours away from life.
I totally forgot that they whitewashed us at that point.
Yeah, the sisters came in.
Yeah.
And moving from Aberdeen, I moved to Stornoway, and I thought that was just crazy, like for me, jumping on an island, because I think I needed more social life. And being on an island for 6 months, that was like a long time. I got there. There was like Clint Smith that I would love to hear from him if you have a chance to interview him, because I spent a good time with him for 3 months, and he got me there. I was super excited, and he kind of like said, well, calm down, because here life is a little different than what you came from Aberdeen. So
here
everybody knows about us. And I was like, oh, come on, can't be. And then I got there, we went to do our shopping. I was just paying, and a lady at the till, working there, said, "Oh, you're the Italian one." I was like, "What?" It was a big co-op. I mean, like it was not like a small shop. It's like,
Right.
yeah, someone told me about you coming. So like everybody knew that there was an Italian coming to the island. So
Wow.
it was like big news. So, and from there I realized that it was gonna be very different. It was cool brunch. It was around 20. We did a lot. Like I remember one Sunday I blessed the sacrament and I passed the sacrament. This hadn't happened to me before, but it was cool.
Yeah.
And I like the thing for me, my first 3 months with Elder Harlow, I didn't feel comfortable in like stopping people on the street or like talking a lot, because I could go for like a couple of sentences, but then like I was lost. Like whatever people replied to me, it was just like bland. And so like finally I was ready to do some finding, and Elder Smith told me, well, it's a little different because a lot of houses are like far apart, and then everybody knows about us. There are like, we counted like 15 different denominations, church denominations between Christians and everything else. And so it was like, it's packed here. Like there's not really like a lot of room for missionaries here, but we're here to work, but it's different. And so like little by little, I realized how different we had to work, and like, fortunately, like the member missionary work was just like was just coming on in the field, and like everybody was like focused on like teaching to members. And then I remember like traveling for a zone conference. It was just like 15 hours of like trip, and I remember one time we're almost missing a train, and like missing the train would have meant like missing everything, all of the other connections, and so we were running for our life to get back. And like we were for a whole week away and then back, so it was crazy.
Yeah.
I really loved that time, because at the same time I managed with Clint, and then after with the Powell, the language even better, because I could spend more time to focus. And, like I wasn't scared as before when I was in Aberdeen, so I felt more comfortable. And the cool thing is that every time I met someone from England, because there were a lot of like Brits retired in the island. Every time I met someone, I could understand them, and I was like so happy. Like, yeah, I can understand you. And then like someone else from the island would speak to me, and I was lost again. So, well, but it was fun, and I was there for 6 months. And
So you said you were with John Powell after that?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I served with him.
Yeah, it was cool. It was very cool.
He's a good guy.
It was very sweet, and he was there for like a very critical moment on my mission. I was kind of feeling lost and feeling a little weird, and he helped me. He didn't say or do much, but I remember him being there, he being understanding, and I managed to fix everything, and I was very happy to be with him. And yeah. Again, I was the pianist every Sunday there. Like I played almost every Sunday a different musical item, and everybody loved me. But I thought
that's right.
Yeah,
I forgot about your musical talent.
Oh yeah. Well,
very good.
I've been playing the piano at church for, I don't know, 25 years. I think I started playing when I was 12, and I'm 40 now. So yeah, it's 28 years. And yeah, I kind of missed a few Sundays on my mission, but then after I came back from my mission, I kept playing. They still kept asking me to keep playing the piano, because sometimes there are no pianists, and so
yeah.
And
cool.
Yeah, I played a lot of the piano there, and yeah, it was cool. It was very cool time. Very cool time. And then I remember after Stornoway, finally like 6 months, and I was like, okay, finally I can go back to the field. And it was just like another entity, and then I would. So like at this time we are 9 months into the field, into my mission, and I still didn't feel like comfortable in speaking to people, because I wanted to be like comfortable, like chatting and not being like even like being casually involved with a conversation with someone, and
Mhm.
I didn't feel comfortable because I could go on, but I didn't feel right. And I was with Elder Stoddard when I got there. It was very
Okay.
cool. I listened to his podcast as well, and I spent 6 weeks with him. But I remember specifically when there was like Elder Clark was our district leader, and I
Mhm.
remember that finally after a few weeks that I was with Stoddard, we were in exchange, and he asked me like, and he told me, "Do you know do you know about golden question GQing?" And I was like, "Yeah, but I still struggle." And he kind of like put me on the spot and kind of like guided me in things to say and things not to say and how to manage. And I remember like that morning for me, it was just I was so happy. I remember then I couldn't sleep at night. That night I didn't sleep because I was so happy that finally, like, you know, when you leave your comfort zone, that you managed to do something that you didn't expect to do before. And
Right.
so like it was like an explosion for me. It was like, oh, finally I can do this thing that I couldn't do before. And yeah, that
What?
kind of like,
So what area were you in at that
oh,
point?
sorry, I was in Glenrothes.
Glenrothes. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah. Kakari, in the Kakari 5, pretty much.
Yeah.
Five
Great area.
yeah, it was very cool. I played the piano there as well for for yeah, there was the pianist, but she said that I played better, and so like she had me pretty much every Sunday to play the piano. Well, actually, they had a very big organ there, and so I really enjoyed being there. And I was there with elders later as well, but I think that's more of a mission of my time.
Okay.
It was kind of new in the field, and we spent another 6 weeks together. And then I moved to Dumfries. Those were like 6 weeks, very interesting. I was with Elder Black,
Okay.
the Irish.
Yeah.
He had been a zone leader, and then I don't know, something happened, and he got demoted. Whatever. Well, we can talk about that now. I don't care. I mean, like he was a district leader. I think something involving like shooting as zone leaders shooting from the car. They were playing
Oh,
with
okay.
I don't know, with like guns, fake guns and stuff, and like
Okay.
big thing exploded. Like mission pricing called them in, and eventually like he kind of like got demoted. And it was frustrated because I didn't go at the same speed as he was going as a zone leader. I was still like kind of new, like yeah, I can GQ now. So for me, it was just like there was a big step for me, but for him it was just like, okay, yeah, you can GQ whatever, but I'm almost at the end of my mission. I want to do stuff, and so I was the only one driving. I got moved a lot because I was European, and Europeans didn't have the driving license that expired, and so like I was kind of like jolly. I wasn't supposed to move from Glenrothes, but I already received the phone call that I was staying in Glenrothes. The next morning, I got a call from the president saying, "Oh, you have to go to Dumfries. We need a driver," and so I had to go there, and
Oh, wow.
I drove the car there, and yeah, I had like 10 areas or something like that, and it was fun. I don't remember much about Dumfries besides like traveling. Even then, traveling from Dumfries to Glasgow to Edinburgh was just always like far away.
Yeah.
The roads were even like very straight, and so like I was always going fast and whatever. Um, and from Dumfries, I finally got to Glasgow, where I spent the next year in different areas.
Okay.
I was with Elder Price.
Yeah.
Good missionary. Well, the thing about me, I'm really easygoing. Plus, like I kind of like can kind of mold. I can get a how can I say, like I if there is someone that doesn't like to spend a lot of time cooking, it's fine for me. But at the same time, if someone likes to cook, I spend time with him. So like for me, my mission was just kind of like getting adapted to who I was sitting next to. And so like with him, it was just very easy. It was cool, and we changed a lot of flats. I was with him in Springboy,
Oh, okay.
and
Nice.
yeah, I was there for two moves in Springboig, and we were at the Springboig still met at the social center. I don't remember what it was, but it was just like a place where it was shared between like I remember one Sunday doing like we were passing sacrament, someone opened the door saying, "Hey, can we grab the chairs here because we have a lot, but we need more." And it was like a meeting of AA, and it was like people were asking us like chairs during our sacrament meeting. It was crazy. Like,
Oh my
plus
gosh.
we didn't have like our own rooms. We had shared rooms, and so like we didn't have like places where we could store stuff, and we had keys. But like the feeling was like you are here as a guest, but it's not here the place for you. Then finally they moved to the Glasgow Ward building, so like it was better being there. But it was cool there because Springboy was a kind of like a small branch. I mean, like a small ward, a big branch. Maybe it was kind of like branch mentality. And, yeah. And I was in Glasgow, and I remember like at first I didn't understand much, but by the end of like my year in Glasgow, I was translating for like the American missionaries. I remember Wilder Van Leuven, he's a cool guy as well. I spent a few. I think it was just one move, but I remember when he got to Glasgow, he didn't understand a single word, and I was like kind of like guiding him with like all the slang and kind of translating. I was like interpreting for him because people didn't understand like the American, and he didn't understand much about the language. But then after that, I remember like being in Glasgow, it was rough because I went back to Glasgow after my mission a few times, and when I went back, I said we were crazy. I remember Elder Van Leuven, he would stop talking to like whoever, like kids. So there were a group of like chavs, whatever, Neds, and he went up to them. He went up to them, like asking, like, "Hey, what are you doing? Are you having fun? You are missionaries." And it was normal for me, and so like I kind of like jumped in that, and I was like, "Oh yeah, there are kids." When I went back, I realized how dangerous were some of those situations. And one time I remember someone picking up a fight with us at the bus stop because something about a phone, and we ended up like running away, and crazy stories. And I remember even like one time we went to Easter House. It was like a famous area, like very rough, where like missions were not allowed to go there. Like only if you had someone to teach. We went there. I was shaking, like because for me it was just like I don't know how to compare, but like the slums in Brazil. I don't know. Like I was like very wary of where we were going. And we went there a few times, and we had an appointment with like a girl. And we went there, and there was like a bunch of kids. They were like kind of drinking. They had like a vodka bottle they were passing around. And I was like teaching the restoration there. I was standing there. I was like, what am I doing here? I mean, like, I'm teaching, but why? I mean, like, they are not going to remember anything about this encounter. The sad thing, I realized that there was like a little kid sleeping in like a little bed just next there, and like it was like someone's kid was there, and while they were passing like the vodka bottle.
Oh my word!
Well, there was Glasgow. I love that, but it was.
So you said you were with Elder Price?
Yeah.
Did Elder Van Leuven, was he your next companion there?
Yeah. Or, after the Price, I got with Elder Van Leuven. Yeah.
Okay.
And we're part of the musical group, and a very cool experience.
Oh, nice.
And we had a chance to travel a lot and to visit different wards and spend time with other missionaries, and it was I really liked it. Well, I'm not like a pianist. I like to play, but I'm not like a great pianist like maybe Zach Clark is, or other people that can actually professionally play an instrument. I still play it for fun. Like last night, I kind of like I was sitting in front of the piano trying to play something, but and I really loved because like everyone was like liked the music, and so there was like Elder Lucas, great singer, and we travel a lot. I remember it was like around Christmas time. We still needed to rehearse, but everybody was sick, and we met at church. Everybody was just like laying down, coughing and everything, but we had to like keep practicing, keep rehearsing. I had a fever. I was like shaking. I was playing the piano, but I knew that I had to do it.
How did you do that? Wow.
Yeah, well, you do that. Well, I don't remember much about that day, but I remember that it was a P day. I was miserable, and I had to rehearse. I was just like, I can't deal with this. Plus, one thing about my mission is that I left when I was 24, and so like for me, I had already lived 5 years by myself, going at uni. Plus, I had a really like crazy uni time. I mean, like I wasn't inactive at church for my whole time at uni, so I had seen a lot. And so that when I went on my mission, I met a lot of like younger missionaries, and everybody just being very immature, and I was like, why we're here to serve the Lord. We are just like doing crazy stuff. But then I realized that it was even to have fun. Like a lot of experiences were even like having fun. And with Edinburgh Mission, I learned how to have fun and being like serious at the same time. It was cool.
Oh, that's cool.
And then I was in Bishopriggs with under Nettleship with other 6 weeks.
Yeah.
It was I killed him. It was his last move.
Right.
Well, I don't care, but yeah, it was kind of, he got there. It was home like the day after I got there. He was already home mentally. So like I like drag him a little around, and let's move on, because I probably of all like my 2 years, those 6 weeks were the hardest. And
Yeah.
but you learn from everything, from all. I was 18 months out now, so I was kind of getting frustrated because I wanted to go to a certain speed, but with someone going home and being kind of drunky, it was kind of hard for me to do that.
Yeah. We've all been there. It's we've all had a drunky missionary that we've kind of had to say, hey, you've got a little bit longer, keep coming. And that's not always the easiest. I can understand that.
But it happens. And I remember being when I was with the Nettleship, I remember calling home. Today I see the missionaries calling home every P day if they want, using like phones. They can video chat with. I remember like not having a phone, and I had to like use a card to call internationally. And the only member that could help us in that ward was like a couple that had like a dog kennel. And so we went to the dog kennel to do our call to my family for Mother's Day. And I remember like I was surrounded by dogs barking the whole phone call, and my mom couldn't understand what was like. Where are you? Like, yeah, long story. I'll explain later. Please, just like talk to me. Like, I was starving of like stories about my family, like back home, and there were like so many dogs. Plus, like the place stunk so bad, and I was like, okay, let's do this, but I don't like it very much.
Oh, that's a good memory. That's pretty funny.
Yeah, that's pretty much. Yeah, the Springboy had a lot of rough areas. There were like the high buildings where there were like tons and tons of flats, but eventually they took them down. But we did a lot of finding there, but a lot of like immigrants, a lot of like Indians. It wasn't like a very good area, but
yeah, goodness.
And eventually I got to probably like the best place, the best time of my mission. I was in Maryhill, so I was in Glasgow still, just next to the church building, and I was with Elder Smith, another Smith, Jonathan Smith.
Okay.
I can call him like one of my best friends to this day, and we kept in touch a lot. We visited each other many times. I went to visit him with his wife, and he came to Italy for a vacation, and we had a lot of good memories. Well, we kind of like we knew each other from the MTC. So like when you are on your mission for 18 months, 19 months, and then like just at the end of your mission, you are assigned to spend some time with like someone that was with you at the MTC. We slept in the same bed when we were in Edinburgh, because I think there was a mix-up with the rooms, and we were in the bed and breakfast, and we had a double bed, king size, and we slept in the same. So like from the first day of my mission up to like almost the end of my mission, like we were good friends. And so when we got together, I was like, finally, I don't have to like adapt as much, but I can be kind of like be myself, because I'm around someone that I know, I feel comfortable being with.
Yeah.
And he was very tidy, I was very messy, but kind of like our walls kind of like got close, and we were the car in Glasgow, and we had a lot of fun. I remember with them having like even like very cool experiences. Like I remember, well, we were kind of getting frustrated because we were out on our mission. We were out on our mission for a while now, but we still didn't see baptisms. You know, like it's kind of getting married. Like, yeah, you want to do stuff, but unless there is someone else doing it, you are kind of stuck in the same place. So like we were starving on like spiritual experiences or like baptisms, and we decided to like starting to fast for like every weekend. And so like we started this thing, and initially we kind of started doing like casually, but then we said, okay, we have to do this. I think it was after a month that we were doing that. And we were at a Zone conference, and we received, someone left a message on our phone because it was switched off for the Zone conference. And when we listened to the message, it was like a member saying, hey, there are a couple of friends of mine, mom and 2 kids, they want to be taught. And I was like, that never happened to me. Oh, what's that? Okay, we went back and we scheduled the appointment. We went there, golden investigators, like the right questions. She smoked like 3 packs a day. She stopped smoking like 2 days after, finding like the right way. Well, we baptized them, and that was a very cool experience. We taught them for like a few weeks, and then eventually they got baptized. And we still talk to this day, and she got endowed, she goes to the temple. And it's well, I went to Jonathan's wedding. I played the piano to his wedding, and he came to mine with his wife, plus like Josie, this like our convert. It was like the coolest experience ever.
Wow.
Where like someone from a mission, like the core, like 2 years of your life, like 3 people that were there, and it was just like the summary of my mission was there for my wedding, from one of my most special day of my life. And so Glasgow for me was like a very good memory. Good friends, good members, and still very rough. But eventually I was moved to. I closed my mission in Aberdeen again.
Oh, really?
I went back to Bridgeton.
Okay.
It was just like the other side of the mirror. I mean, like I was like, okay. At one point, I was in Aberdeen. I was like, yeah, those are the Bridgeton missionaries. And then I eventually, like the first day of my mission, the last day of my mission, I was in Aberdeen. It was kind of like closing the circle.
Yeah.
I met a lot of members that I'd met with you guys, and so like what was the family of girls? Do you remember like the sisters that they were always with us? There were like 3 or 4 sisters.
The Views?
Yeah, the Views. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember meeting with Angela after my mission. After at the end of my mission, it's like, yeah, now you speak English. Like you didn't at the beginning. I was like, yeah, I'm sorry.
That's so cool.
Very sorry, yeah. And so it was cool. I was with Edmond there, and it was I was a district leader, and we had a few baptisms there as well. That was the end of my mission. What can I say? It was. I remember the last day of my mission. We went we had like a zone lunch. We went some place to eat. I remember Carver, I don't remember.
Mhm.
And we were on the bus. I remember, there are a few rules, there are a few plans every few weeks. Like that period of time was just like we had to stop everyone, and by everyone they meant everyone. I felt so uncomfortable. I mean, like, okay, I could GQ, I could stop people, but at the same time, I could kind of like scan and see, okay, he could be interested, he's in a rush, like kind of like
Yeah.
first level. Okay, no, let's move from this and so forth. But they wanted us to speak to everybody, and by everybody they meant everybody. And I remember even like being on a bus, we had to speak to everybody on the bus. And so like I said, I can't do this, like honestly, like. But I said, oh, come on, it's your last day on your mission. You have nothing to lose now. And so I said, okay, fine, I'm gonna do it. I don't care, I'm gonna do it. And so like I started from the beginning of the bus, and I was like asking the same question. It was crazy, like nonsense. I mean, like those rules are just like, are not to be followed like blindly. But okay, I'm gonna do it. And so I started like asking the same question. I remember from the beginning to the bus, and everybody could see me like getting to them. I'm like, yeah, they know who I am, what I'm asking, and I kept asking the same question. Nobody was interested, of course. And by the end of the bus, I was just like powerhouse. I was just like, okay, you finally like went through the last boss. Super Mario, you have like the last boss that you have to win.
Yeah.
And by the end of the bus, I felt like, okay, my comfort zone got so much larger now, so much larger than I went back when I came back home. I talked to everybody pretty much. Like I was like doing my shopping. I would like crack a joke to someone that I didn't know, and it wasn't natural for me. But when I came back, like for me, it's easier for me to do that now. And so like sometimes maybe like rules are for another reason, but yeah. And that was the last day of my mission. I'm really happy that I have that memory of my last day of my mission, because it means that even if I didn't start off like at the same speed of everybody, I finished my mission at the right speed. Okay, and that's
Oh man, that's so cool.
that's what I wanted to share with you.
Well, I love hearing your progression because, I saw you for that first 3 months, and I was like, I remember going home and thinking to myself, I can't wait to see how he turns out, because you
Yeah.
had just so much potential. You had the desire, you wanted to be successful. And I saw that in the way that you expressed your frustration, and you expressed your that yearning of wanting to accomplish so much, but yet you were just lacking the tools. And I knew you'd get there. So that's really cool. I love that.
Yeah.
All right, I have a question for you. And obviously the period of time after I went home involved the hammer time period. So what was your experience with hammer time as that was implemented in the mission?
Well, I was the object of the hammer time many times. I mean, like, what can I say? Like, I hated it with my whole heart. Okay. There were a few principles. There were a few principles that were taught that were like kind of cool. So, like, I remember Elder Johnson. It was like on the podcast as well. Like, you know what? I got from each missionary something good to remember. Okay, something that I still bring with me. Okay, I remember, like, for instance, like Elder Johnson. He came from our time with I don't remember if it was with Elder Fischler or Lucas. They came to our apartment to do the hammer time and everything. I was like, okay, all right, yeah, they talked about this, and I know what was gonna happen. But for instance, it was like Elder Johnson that he just said, I don't remember what had happened, like why we were like the object of the hammer time. But I remember he asked a simple question like, "Do you get it?" And he kept, well, I think he was asking the same question to a lot of missionaries. By "do you get it?" he meant, do you get what you're doing here? Do you get what the gospel is? Do you get what our purpose is here? So like
Yeah.
So what can I say? Like I hated to see like the hammer with like all the names and everything, just like kind of like memorabilia. Like no, I didn't like that, and I wasn't a big fan of other missions like Elder Lucas and everything. But I tried to get the best out of them. I hated them in certain ways, like I kind of like rationalized like, so there are two kids coming to our apartments telling us stuff and then they leave. So like I was older than them, so I was kind of like,
Yeah.
yeah, come over, yeah, you tell me whatever you want to tell me. But I was kind of like, yeah, let's do this. But it's like if someone would have looked at us like from the outside, would have seen like two kids going there yelling and then leaving and nothing more. But it was this big thing about like, oh yeah, it's the hammer time. But that's my memory.
I love that perspective because you're right. Like you were more mature than some of these
Yeah, I was
other
like,
men coming into your flat telling you, "Hey, you need to be this and this and this," and you're
yeah,
like,
I was like,
"Yeah,
yeah, I kind
okay,
of got there, but you know, like sometimes you don't clean your apartment very well, or maybe like you leave without your tie, or I remember maybe leaving your PJ without your suit and stuff like that. It was just like there was always an excuse about after the hammer time finally came the love time, okay, and
right,
love was a big topic. Everything was love, love, love. We have to love. Yeah, finally, like we got there. Like the first commandment, like
yeah,
not hammer time. But oh man,
yeah." I mean, and it's been interesting to speak with the missionaries from like probably towards that time when you were with Elder Smith, Jonathan
yeah,
Smith, and beyond, where it kind of just it flipped completely on the other side, where it went
yeah,
from like rules, 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 and
yeah,
let's
yeah,
drive this member missionary work home, and you know to the point of like we heard a couple of people say that I think Elder Fissler mentioned on his podcast that people in Glasgow just did not like him and his companion or the missionaries in general because of what was expecting when they came to their homes and talked to them, because it wasn't like you said, a nice warm cozy situation. It was
yeah,
very like
yeah.
direct and
Pounding, yeah.
and 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 it was a little bit off-putting for a lot of people.
Well, yeah, of course, if they did that to me and I didn't really care a lot, well, I probably kind of like was frustrated, but I didn't care. Like I have good memories. Like Elder Fissler was like a big brother to me. Maybe it wasn't like reciprocated, but I looked up to all my leaders and like
Mhm.
they taught me a lot. Like even then, yeah, there were like the slip ups with hammer time and going to like I just wanted to have a meal with them, be friends, like share stuff, not like rebuking and
Yeah,
oh well.
but again, you ushered in a completely new way of thinking when it
Hmm.
was more about charity and love and
Yeah, yeah,
the compassion side of what the gospel is, and
yeah, yeah,
sharing that Christ-like attribute or attributes that
yeah.
allow people to feel the love of the Savior through you as the representative of the
And,
Savior, right?
yeah, that was again like it was the first commandment. I mean, like love. It was a big yeah. Let's do let's do this. Yeah, we have to love everybody. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. Well, and it's just been so interesting to talk with the different missionaries and what their experience was with that because, I heard a unique story from Elder Peacock
Yeah,
because he and I were so close and had a great relationship. But then also to hear the perspective of like Elder O'Brien, who was a
yeah,
big proponent of that coming into the mission, and then everyone in between. It was very polarizing. It sounds
yeah,
like,
yeah,
but
yeah,
each person who was part of that era of the Scotland Edinburgh mission truly gained something from it, whether it was their own perspective of what obedience looked like versus
yeah,
the
yeah.
balancing of doing good but also being good. It's just been really fascinating to hear that because
Well, it's cool in general. It's cool to have like different point of views. Like I love like the podcast that I've watched so far. I mean, like seeing like, because everybody's living their life, okay? Everybody's struggling with whatever they have. Like everybody goes through stuff, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And so like seeing like all different point of views has been like very refreshing for me.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, that was something that I think I mentioned when Jack and I were speaking most recently, is I was just like, all of us went from, the exit doors into the world, right?
Yeah.
And we have to find what is best for us. And in some instances, that's, heavy involvement and being very much a part of the church and doing those things. But, it's not to say that we haven't had some of our brothers and sisters from our mission that aren't involved in the church anymore, but that is what their life has led. And that's okay. We've talked about how you've got to do what's best for you and what brings you joy and happiness. And, that's just part of the learning process of our time here on this earth. And, but it doesn't change the fact that, that season of life, we had 2 glorious years or 18 months of glorious time being together in the mission and enjoying one another, building lasting relationships, whether they were very short in duration or lengthy. And like you said, you've got different levels of relationships with those that you spent time with, and that's okay. We can't be expected to love everybody.
We should try, but
we should, but it doesn't mean that we have to do that perfectly. That's part of our process and learning. So, well, Alberto, you've named a great group of missionaries that you served with and those that are around. Is there anyone else, whether from your MTC group or other people from the mission, that haven't been on the podcast yet that you'd like to hear from in the future?
I want to hear from Clint Smith.
Clint, okay.
Clint.
He's one I've reached out to, and I haven't heard back from him yet. So hopefully we can get in touch with Clint.
Yeah. I will ping him.
Okay, sounds good. Well, and ultimately we'll have this out early next week. From when we're speaking, and then you can share it and tag him and do all the magical things to get people's attention. So
absolutely.
Well, Alberto, I just want to express my love to you. You are definitely one of my brothers in Scotland.
You too.
We had so much fun. It was a great time in my mission to be around you and to see you grow.
I enjoyed. I mean, like the mission really, like, kind of. I was thinking, like, about just today. I was just thinking, okay, what can I talk about? And I just got this feeling like the mission shaped my life. Okay, and the place I'm today, the people I'm surrounded with, it's just like because of the decision that I made. The opportunities that I have at work, being at church, whatever, it's just like it gave me a lot. It's not easy, but it gave me a lot. Okay.
Yeah. And I can appreciate that because, you live in a completely different world than some of us, and having other conversations with some of my other friends that have lived or currently live in Italy, it's a different world than some of us have experienced, right? And but it's not to say that you can't look back at the time that you had in your mission and glean upon those positive moments and the positive relationships. And those are some of those little stepping stones that keep you moving forward. And you realize that, hey, this is a heck of a lot better than chapping doors in the rain and having the door slammed in your face and having people curse you out and, throw rocks and other things at you, because it happened to us, right?
Yeah.
That the sunny days are more glorious when you realize that you've been through the rain and the storms, right? So, well, Alberto, I really appreciate you I love you. Thank you so
We
much
love
for
you too.
coming
Thank you,
back.
everybody,
And,
to listen to me rambling about my.
oh no, everybody will enjoy it. I know that for certain, especially those that you served around and who are in your
Yeah.
MTC group. They'll love to hear from you. So,
Yeah.
but I appreciate it, mate. We'll certainly talk more soon. And
All right.
in the meantime, have a good night.
Have a good night to you too.
Love you,
Bye-bye.
brother. Bye.
Bye-bye.